Welcome to the Innovation Conversation, a podcast about innovators, both in business and real life. Hosted by myself, Ricardo Pasquale, and Harry McDonough.
This podcast is sponsored by OpenExperts.com. OpenExperts is a place to go if you're looking to talk with top experts from around the world. That is open-experts.com. This podcast is also sponsored by startupnetworks.co.uk. Startup Networks, it's an online forum where you can find all the resources you need to run your startup. From grants to investors to tips and tricks on how to be successful in your startup.
Today, we are joined by Zomko, founder and CEO of Impressit.io.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Innovation Conversation. Today we are joined by Zomko, founder and CEO of Impressit.io, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, Impressit.io.
That's right.
Roman, welcome, and please tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Ricardo, and thanks for having me. So I'm the co-founder and CEO of Impressit. We're a software innovation house, and we help anywhere from early stage startup founders to large enterprises like Shell, whom we started working with recently, build their products, anywhere from simple mobile applications, SaaS platforms, and AI solutions as well.
How do you get
in tech? Yeah, sorry.
No, see, I already got questions, which is always good. I was just about to ask you, and I think you're going to say that. How do you get started with Impressit?
Yeah, well, my journey is quite interesting because even though I work in tech, my background is not technical. So I was born and raised in Lviv, Ukraine, where I'm based right now. My background is international economics. I studied here in Lviv, but also had some possibility to study in Czech Republic, in EU. And as I was already wrapping up my university times, I realized that I'm not that big fan of the economic side, but I'm quite a big fan of the international side of my background. And that's something that I wanted to associate my career with, to be able to join a podcast with you based in London, work with companies across the seas in Europe. That sounded really cool for me, and I was looking for a career that could support that goal. And tech was an obvious choice, since Ukraine was always well known for strong, motivated software professionals. Some of the biggest software development companies have their offices here. There are a lot of Ukrainian large companies as well. The product, the startup ecosystem is now growing fast. But when I was starting, it was mainly, let's say, service companies, mainly software development outsourcing companies that were on the market. And I decided to join a small software development studio called Echo. At that time, it was just, I think, 7 people working there. They were just making this shift from the domestic market to the Western market. And I joined as their business development manager to help them onboard new clients. I managed to make my first sale on the second day after joining them, which was quite cool, I think, and reassuring. Yeah. So got me motivated to move forward. And in 2 or 3 months, I've helped to bring the client that basically we had to double our team in order to fulfill their needs. So I realized that so I have, let's say, the skills, and it really motivated me seeing results and also being involved in the tech industry. And over the course of 4 years, I helped to grow that business from 7 to 70 people, and that's where I met my technical co-founder Andrew, with whom we later co-founded in Impressit. It was actually an interesting story as well, because Andrew joined us to lead the largest project that we were working on. It was a collaboration with a Monaco-based company, not a usual location for tech businesses, right? But you'll understand. You'll understand the values of being in Monaco for the business that they were doing. So they were building platforms, ticketing platforms for large sports events. And their biggest client was Formula One. So, later on, they onboarded Juventus Football Club. They also worked with a lot of tennis tournaments, Madrid Open, for example, and other big sports events. But obviously, Formula One was the biggest thing. So yeah, so the team that we set up back at Echo was helping to rebuild according to the newer architecture principles the platform for Formula One. Andrew was leading that effort. So yeah, so if you ever book a ticket for Formula One Grand Prix, you'll probably do that through their official ticketing shop. And that platform was built by a team here in Lviv and Monaco, and still is being supported by that team. And Andrew was leading that effort.
Okay. How hard was it to get started? I mean, I know you did quite a lot to grow your previous company, but how hard was it actually to run your own company? Because it's a complete shift, isn't it? You got a lot of worries on your mind all at the same time. Like, am I actually bringing revenue? Can I sustain this? Is this like a business, or is this like a crazy idea? So how hard was it?
Yeah, well, when you work in a company and think of starting a new business, obviously you feel about it a bit more optimistic than it actually is when you get started. So, well, Andrew and I, we got, let's say, brought together by shared values. It just happened very naturally. As we started working together, we realized that both of us, when we take on any assignment, whether it's in work or personal life, we deliver to the best result. And that's not because of, some commitment or accountability. That's because of our personal accountability to ourselves and the desire to be proud of the results that you achieve. And that just made comfortable us working together, because we knew that we will put in equal efforts. And most importantly, we realized that that's the values, that's the principles that we want to build our team around. We want to bring like-minded people that will embrace the same principles and will build a strong team culture. And that's pretty much how we laid the foundation for Impressit. We realized that within the previous company, those values were not as strongly shared, and that's why eventually we decided to leave and start Impressit. I was, let's say, waiting for a good moment to leave. Obviously, trying to build out, let's say, some financial reserves to sustain my family. At that time, I already was married. We had, at that time, my son Denny, I think he was 2 years old, so had a lot of personal responsibilities to sustain and support the family. So yeah, it was quite a hard decision to leave a well-paid job and start something from scratch is obviously hard. And I thought that I will find that best moment, but actually it happened in a different way, but which turned out to be good. So at some point, I just felt really burned out on the previous role. I started hating what I was doing, and I was not, I was really getting frustrated with like the person I'm becoming, because I didn't want to come back home so frustrated, so stressed. So one evening, I just realized I can't continue like that. Came back home, had a chat with Sandra, with my wife, and decided to give a notice the next day. So it wasn't the best moment. It was just after Christmas and New Year holidays. So yeah, but I realized that it's enough, and I need to focus my energy on our shared venture with Andrew. So and obviously the first year is the hardest. It was pretty much survival, because as I mentioned, when you're when you work in the company, you take as granted the infrastructure that you have around you, the team that you can always ask someone, ask for support, or you already have materials that you can use for some outreach campaigns when you're doing a demo. When starting something new, you start from scratch. And so that was the initial, let's say, realization that you're on your own. You have a co-founder, but still, like, you're on your own, and you need to start from scratch. That was quite a hard pill to swallow.
And how did you manage all that stress? Because it's a lot of things happening all at the same time, right? You got your responsibilities as a father and a husband, but you're also running a company, which means you're also responsible for making sure that it takes off and it goes well. So how do you handle all that?
Yeah, well, one of the values, one of the principles that Andrew and I we also share is that we try to find joy in what we're doing. And obviously starting a new business, it's a journey and it's an adventure. So obviously not as romantic as it might seem from the outside. So, but still building something new is very exciting. It's stressful. Obviously there's a lot of sleepless nights and so on. Deadlines to meet, really tight financials to fit in, but it's very rewarding. So the first year, as I mentioned, was hard. So, but as we let's say reflect on this first year together with Andrew from time to time, it was filled with so many cool activities. We were so Impressit is a service company, so we were trying to get our first clients and land our first deals. So, for example, when we saw that some opportunities are especially interesting for us and have huge potential, we didn't even think for too long, but just booked flights and went to the clients to have on-site meetings. So we, for example, traveled to Belgium to Ghent to present the vision and proposal for the development of an internal management tool for a company in the construction and manufacturing business. So we, at that time, since Andrew and I, we have complementary skill sets. Andrew has absolutely extraordinary technical background. He has full stack experience, so he as one person can take any project, whether it's a SaaS tool, mobile application, AI-enabled platform, delivered from A to Z on his own. So two of us, at that time, we were competing against other service providers with tens or even hundreds of people in staff. So, and we're competing for the same projects with them. And some we managed to win, some didn't. But yeah, that was interesting this first year, and yeah, very challenging. And to be honest, yeah, your surroundings, your family is the biggest supporter. I clearly remember how, like, at one time at the beginning, when this hard pill came to realization that you're on your own, I was step by step just losing momentum, and my wife gave me the best, let's say, motivation. So instead of feeling sorry about me or trying just to hard to explain anyway. So she just said me the absolute brutal truth. Like, why are you whining? Like, get your, sorry for my French, shit together and do your job. You can do that. I know that you were doing that before. You'll do it again. So, and yeah, that was a really strong motivation. Like, just get everything together and keep moving.
So a little bit of tough love, but much needed.
Yeah.
Okay. I think you're the first person to actually say that you got a little bit of tough love from someone else, and that actually pushed you forward. What was
and then motivated.
Yep, I mean, but it's a good motivator, especially if it's coming from someone you love and trust, right? What was the hardest moment in that first year? What was the moment you said, "Oh my, I want to quit"? What was that moment you said, it's not turning out okay? We got a lot of no's. How was that like?
Yeah. I don't think at this first year we ever had this moment to really think about quitting. Like, Andrew and I, we haven't considered that as an option. So when we left the previous company and started Impressit, so everyone was asking, like, where are you going? What's your next company? Everyone was was very surprised to hear that we're actually starting something of our own. So yeah. And, this motivation of not going back, not let other people who had some doubts whether we'll succeed or not, to make them, feel that they were right. So we didn't have any thoughts like that. The hardest moment was actually sometime later. So after this first year, we managed to land our, let's say, first significant enterprise project, because all the projects before that were more like smaller MVPs, smaller like proof concepts for startups. And in December 2019, yes, in December 2019, we started working with one of the fastest growing internet providers in London called G Network. So we joined as their key and technology partner, and we were fully covering all of their internal software development needs. So for business automation needs, for custom buildings, custom portals, and so on. And then the let's say the dynamic really went up. We started actively hiring our team. So before working with them, we were mainly a team of about 6 or 7 people. So 6 months from then, we were already a team of almost 20. So it was really fast growth. And and that's when COVID started. And that's obviously another interesting chapter in our history.
I mean, when you're dealing with actually, let me reframe that. I'm always curious, because you build all these software for these many companies, and some of them are actually startups. Do you ever tell them and say, this is the wrong way to go? Like, I can build you this, but this is not what you should do. You should actually do something else. Does that actually ever happen, or you just build them whatever they want?
Yeah. That's a really good question, and that's, let's say, a hard decision to make as a business owner, as a service provider, because obviously you're open the possibility for additional risk of losing the deal, because you're fully honest with the startup founders, with pretty much your partners, because you're joining in the same boat. And we are always looking to the in the broader picture. So we are not interested, in lending a lot of these small short-term deals. We are interested to building a long partnership. And if we see that some of the decisions that the founders are planning to do or making right now are likely to affect their likelihood of growing and succeeding, we'll always openly say about that, and we'll share all of our experience in order to help them succeed. That's, by the way, how we eventually build up a portfolio of solutions now that we use to fast track the development of new products. We'll get to that later. But pretty much we share our technology with startups in order to set them for success. So that's it takes a lot of courage and to do that, because you understand that, well, they might not, let's say, take it that well, so they might go in a more comfortable direction for them. But we believe in shared values, and we believe that those who will actually appreciate our openness and willingness to share our experience as an advantage, as a sign of a true partnership. And we want to work with those kind of startup founders.
I was wondering, you've had you had a couple of interesting events happening in since you started the company, because you did have COVID, right? And that impacted the company a lot. But then, unlike most people that launch a company, you also had something else. You also had an invasion, and your country is actually at war at this moment. So how do you manage all this stress? Because it's a lot. I can imagine it being extremely stressful. Like, you don't know what's going to happen. So how do you manage that?
Yeah. Well, it's indeed challenging, and I was thinking about this the other day and realized that we pretty much worked in normal conditions maybe about a year. And then COVID happened, and we didn't even manage to recover from COVID when Russia invaded Ukraine, and that obviously changed the whole world. Not only the lives of us, but it has a huge effect on the whole world, or even like despite whether people realize that or not. So yeah, so coming back to COVID, we probably there was a mix of luck and hard work, because the main projects that we were working on at that time were not that heavily affected by COVID. Some actually got even some, let's say, advantage out of it. How, let's say, strange it might sound, but for example, with G Network, due to the lockdown, they had the possibility to accelerate their the development of their network, because suddenly the whole London was empty. There were no one on the streets, and the city officials became much more open to granting permissions to do the groundworks and lay the networks on streets. So that accelerated, and our relationship with G Network carried on, and we grew throughout that period. We also worked quite a lot in health tech, and obviously health tech in general obviously had a significant influx of financing as well, due to development of the vaccine, but also like in general the attention of the business was focused on the healthcare industry significantly, and carries on from there. So yeah, so we got pretty much COVID hadn't affected us that much. In terms of our internal process, how we worked, we were, let's say, flexible even before COVID. Working in a hybrid environment wasn't something new to us, since just the start of Impressit. We just set a rule that we'll provide all of our teammates with MacBooks. We are quite, let's say, comfortable with Apple ecosystem. So I'd say we even are Apple evangelists. It was quite an easy transition for us. And since we worked with with our clients based in the US and the UK all the time, so it didn't that much change our relationship with them. So yeah, COVID was more or less fine, and I know that not all were as lucky as we were, but then the war happened. So obviously February 24th was a shock to everyone. I mean, February 24th, 2022. Well, I don't know whether it was the right decision of, let's say, of our local authorities and government to not emphasize on the likelihood of the invasion. So the whole, let's say, the narrative which was shared here was like, well, calm down. Russia was flexing their muscles even before. We don't think they will invade. Well, it's actually the military knew that the invasion is preparing, and I think they were already preparing how we will respond to that. We as a company, we were as well quite lucky to be based in western part of Ukraine. So we are headquartered in Lviv, which is in the very western part of Ukraine, just 60 or 70 kilometers from the Polish border. We had a couple of remote team members in other cities, but again, mainly in the western region. We just had our first team member based in Kyiv, who was starting on March 1st. So he was a senior DevOps engineer, still works with us, so he was about to start. So on February 24th, when in the morning we woke up from the news and sounds of air raid alarms, there was obviously a shock. And first and foremost, we thought about our loved ones and our close ones. So my first decisions were just to reach out to my co-founder, our HR manager, coordinate with them, just send out the message to everyone that today we are focused on, helping our loved ones, making sure that everyone's safe. Because for me, for example, most of my family is based here, but we had team members who moved to Lviv from other Ukraine regions of Ukraine, and they had to take care of their families. So February 24th obviously was let's say a day off for us, very stressful and strange day focus on just taking care of our families and coordinating. We immediately helped to arrange accommodation for our team member from Kiev and encouraged him to move with his family to Lviv. And fortunately, he did that because, well, the next day it was already unsafe leaving Kiev, at least like directly on the main highway going from Kiev to Lviv. So people had to take much longer routes. So because Russia got to that highway and was killing civilians just like that. So I'm pretty sure everyone knows and remembers the atrocities that they did in Bucha and Irpin outside of Kiev, and unfortunately it still continues now, and there are many more of these tragic stories like that. But coming back like from how business responded to that, to be honest, it was happening very organically. So I think at that point everyone just realized naturally realize what they should do. Me as a leader, I obviously realized that I need to be very close to my team, meaning that frequent communication was absolutely important so that no one is left behind. Everyone feels that they have someone besides them and can always ask for help. So, and I was very fortunate to read before that a book called Extreme Ownership. Jocko Willens and another author. So they are ex Navy SEALs. So, and they set up a consultancy sharing, let's say, the principles that U.S. Navy SEALs use in warfare, and how these principles can be adopted in business in order to make businesses more resilient, more efficient. So, and one of the main principles I clearly remember is distributed command. So instead of trying to keep everything very, let's say, under my control, I just distributed the management of the projects that we were working on different initiatives to my team as much as possible, and just clearly emphasize on their accountability, on their, let's say, on the importance of their role. So yeah, I think at that moment we were the most organized software development company in the whole world. So everyone was very responsive. Everyone was giving daily updates on how it's going on their projects. I was doing daily emails across of the whole client, sharing the updates on what's going on the ground in Ukraine, how we're responding, how the team is feeling, so that our clients are fully aware of what's happening. Because we then realized that there are pretty much three main duties that everyone has, is to provide for their families, make sure that they're safe, take care of them, contribute to Ukraine in every way possible on our, let's say, in our roles. And then, well, the best value that we can also bring to Ukraine is to continue working, to have the resources to then channel to all of the important initiatives that there were at that time, helping buy ammunitions for soldiers, helping evacuate people from affected areas, buying humanitarian support for those displaced people who just were arriving in thousands to Lviv and other cities, and obviously they had some needs for the basic, let's say, day-to-day needs, let's say. So yeah, so that was three goals, three missions that everyone we had. So and yeah, so we pretty much worked, and if we didn't work, then we did something for Ukraine, some volunteering and so on. There was no other just way to spend time. So yeah, and none of our clients, none of the projects we worked on had, let's say, any bad negative effects from that, we carried on 100% service delivery throughout the whole of the time. Later, where there were blackouts because Russia was targeting Ukrainian energy system. So, but we found solutions for that. Made our office fully autonomous with power batteries, with power generator. We have Starlink on our office. Okay. So yeah, and besides that, 2 more internet lines. So yes, so we came over all of the challenges because we clearly realized that, well, that's our duty, to keep the to support Ukrainian economy at the level that we can, considering our size.
I'm just thinking, because this, you told your story and you make it sound super easy, but I can't imagine it was not even remotely easy or close to being easy. So, because, most entrepreneurs face a lot of challenges and stuff like that, but none face that big of a challenge like you just did, right? Where you have your country being invaded, people are, trying to fight for their lives and trying to survive, and you don't know what's going to happen the next day, right? Because there was that moment in the war where we didn't know how far the Russians would go. Thankfully, it didn't go that far, but you had no idea what was happening. So, as a leader, what do you say to yourself in those moments? What's that, message that comes across? Like, what is that? How do you keep yourself sharp and able to deliver all the stuff you've done? Like, how does that look like?
Yeah. To be fair, you don't think too much in these situations. You just act. You don't think whether, to feel bad about yourself or just, go and do the things that you have to. So, and, well, adrenaline definitely does its job. So you have less fear to do some things that you were not that comfortable with. So I started doing more videos, sharing them with our clients, with our team, to keep them informed and again keep that feeling of closeliness as much as possible. Before that, I was quite, let's say, shy of filming myself. So the barrier just gets significantly lower of the things that you were not that comfortable doing before, and well, what to lose? Like, you either work it out or not. So the choices become very simple. It's just one choice and no other options. So yeah. So I, at that time and still now, I made a clear decision that I will dedicate myself to growing Impressit, innovating and bringing, let's say, new opportunities, and we'll get to that as well, because besides Impressit, Andrew and I, we have launched our own AI product, and that's also an interesting topic, how in the circumstances of a full-scale war, which the Europe continent didn't experience since World War II. So how founders are launching new products, because I think now the activity of the startup ecosystem in Ukraine is higher than ever before. A lot of that is also driven by the demands of our country. So there is a lot of military tech startups, a lot of alternative energy sources being developed, and so on. So the needs of our country drive for innovation, because obviously we are in a significantly disadvantaged position compared to Russia. Russia has more of every possible resource. More human resources, more financial resources, more natural resources. We have fewer of everything, and we need to find ways how to be more efficient with less of the resources that we have, and that obviously creates an environment for innovation. So I would encourage all investors, all accelerators, to pay a special attention to startups from Ukraine, because those founders, they're creating new services, new products in the environment, which is really hard to find anywhere else in the world right now, with almost daily 8 raid alarms, depending on the region. Again, we're in Lviv, we are sort of in the, let's say, Ukrainian resort, we can say, because we have air raid alarms maybe, a couple of times a week, sometimes even fewer, and actual, let's say, missile and drone strikes are happening, not that frequent, and most of the targets are being taken down because, well, any missiles, any drone has to travel almost across the whole of the country, so it's very likely that they will take them down. Whilst Kiev, other central Ukrainian cities like Dnipro, Zaporizhia, Kharkiv is a complete different story because they're 30 or 40 kilometers from Russian borders. So pretty much any weapon, any mid-range or long-range weapon is reaching them. So, but still, like Kiev is obviously targeted more frequently, and there are a lot of startups like there. So, and I think that given that those founders get, let's say, the conditions of their peers in London or in the US, they can achieve way more.
Yeah,
so,
a lot more. Yeah,
so,
definitely. I think if you were to do a pitch deck and you put in the founding team and you just told, oh yeah, we've just been surviving in the war scenario for the last 2 years. We're like, oh, okay, yeah, definitely. They have what it takes, right? They can deal with anything.
Yeah. We need to add unstoppable, let's say, startups or, war-proof startups as, let's say, as strange as it sounds, but, that, and same for service providers. Actually, right now, we are onboarding a new client, and they were looking for a service provider out of Ukraine for purpose because they share the same vision and same thinking that people who are delivering great results, maintain professional service in these circumstances. They nothing can stop them. So, and B, they understand that that's the way how you can actually support Ukraine in a very direct, very effective manner, because you're pretty much with your projects, you're creating additional job opportunities in Ukrainian market. All of the 100% of your spending will go into Ukrainian economy because people, obviously the company will make some profit, pay tax out of that. The professionals will make their salaries, pay tax from there, but they will also spend in Ukraine, donate in Ukraine. And so pretty much 100% of that will go into really valuable means. So yeah, I encourage to think about from that perspective as well. And a lot of startups, to be honest, are open to that. Enterprises are a bit more reserved. So yeah, I would love to see more enterprise leaders sharing that vision and being courageous to fight, let's say, their internal, let's say, discussions and make their teams consider working with Ukraine.
I was just wondering, you mentioned that you launched a new AI product. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Sure, absolutely. So the product is called AssistMe AI. So, and it does what the name says. So it assists professionals in their work. So it's an AI-based tool that helps automate workflows in large organizations. So our target audience right now are customer support companies who are providing either voice or text customer support. So, and we provide the possibility for their quality assurance teams to validate how effective their customer support agents are, how, let's say, how closely are they following their principles, their playbooks. So conventional way is that a customer support company has their own QA team who are manually looking through the conversations of their customer support agents and validating whether they follow the best practices or not. And that's the ideal use case to be automated by AI. So what our platform does, so it listens to all of the conversations or analyzes all of the text chat conversations of customer support, and by just we train the model with all of the documentation that the customer support company provides us with. So, and it validates those conversations against all of the rules, all of the principles that they have to follow. So the expected improvement of efficiency of their QA team is at least 5 times. So we are running a trial with the first paying customer right now. So we'll have all of the data, all of the results of their usage of our platform, and then we'll go out to other similar companies already, showing them what the value AssistMe AI provides.
There you go. It's an impressive story, isn't it? When you think about all the adversity we faced, and you're still launching new products, you're still creating new things. Roman, if people want to reach out to you, how can you do so? And talk about all these amazing things you're doing.
I'm pretty accessible on LinkedIn, and funny enough, I'm the only Roman Zomko on LinkedIn as of my latest data. So I should be fairly easy to find there. And yeah, I'm very responsive there. Try to post quite frequently. So the best way to reach out would be through LinkedIn.
Wonderful. Roman, thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Ricardo. Thanks for having me.
This podcast is also sponsored by startupnetworks.co.uk. Startup Networks, it's an online forum where you can find all the resources you need to run your startup, from grants to investors to tips and tricks on how to be successful in your startup. This podcast is sponsored by openexperts.com. Open Experts is a place to go if you're looking to talk with top experts from around the world. That is open-experts.com.